evening and welcome to the August 20th, 2026 Board of Trustee meetings for Johnson County Community College. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. By way of roll call this evening, we have in attendance here in GEB 137, Trustee Holton, Carroll, Mitchell, and Rattan. And by phone this evening, we have both Trustee Jennings and Cross. So we do have a quorum, which will take us into our first item of the evening. Dr. Mixa, what a pleasure it is to see you twice in one day, both ends of the day, morning and night. Please tell us about our campus spotlight this evening.
All right, we are excited to have our success coaches come on up and talk about the great work that they've been doing, getting our students registered and in classes right when they get on campus here today. So I'll hand it over to Lisa.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Lisa Turner Hernandez. I'm the Program Director of Admissions and Success.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danielle Gallegos. I'm the supervisor for the onboarding and success coaching team.
And I'm Kaylee Eiley. I am one of the success coaches.
All right. So to start us off, don't worry, not a boring history lesson, just a little overview of where this team has been. I was here in May and gave you a little preview from the admissions side, but tonight we're going to focus on the success coaches and the difference that they have made. So in March of this past year, the success coaches became part of the admissions team, and we really have refocused their efforts on that first semester and the student experience from the beginning. So we joined the admissions team in March, and then over time we started adding to how they were impacting students' experience. So that includes really taking over the admissions appointments, which you may remember were previously taken care of by one admissions navigator. So now we've expanded that ability to do that with all 6 coaches plus Danielle, making 7 total, expanding that availability for students. We also have really expanded those orientation meetings to focus on that first semester success, which includes speaking with the students about what those first semester courses will look like and helping them move forward in that process. In the spring, we also launched Element 451, so the new application, and the coaches were part of that initial launch. And so we've really been in there working and helping track students through the process and helping them know where they were throughout that process. As summer came around, we continued expanding and really integrated the teams together. We had a full team in place. We were able to hire 2 great success coaches to put that full team in place. We also began assigning the success coaches by area of interest to really start expanding their knowledge and helping them learn more about specific areas and be able to be more of a resource for students. And we continued that CRM integration. Now all of the appointments are noted in the CRM, so we have the notes there in one single place so that we can really help students track through their journey, and we'll be continuing to expand upon that. Then we get to August, the busy, crazy time in the Student Center, and it's really been fun to watch the students benefit from these changes and to really see all this hard work in action. So now we have students that are supported by this one admissions team, and they're taken through the application from that first conversation, really when the recruiters are meeting them, through the application process, and then on to enrollment and being ready for success in that first semester. The coaches are also then introducing the students to their counselors who specialize by area of interest as well, and they'll be with them throughout their journey. So overall, it's really just allowing students to have that one point of contact as they go through some of the scariest, most confusing times in their college career. And they have that one person who's in their corner and making sure that they're set up for success and know how to get through those processes. What's next? continuing to grow. So really continuing to elaborate on our proactive outreach, and we'll be next integrating appointments into Element 451, continuing to expand on that overarching experience for the students, and then focused on 40-40-40 and really helping to expand that for the students and how we can help them get to their goals and get to that graduation rate.
All right, I'm going to move into quickly kind of the new, so I can break down really quickly the two different appointment types that the coaching team is facilitating now with prospective students and incoming new students that I think is really making a difference. So again, those admission appointments that we started taking on the last few months is really that one-on-one opportunity for them to sit down with a person for 30 minutes and really start that relationship from the very, very get-go. We are helping build that genuine connection and helping students see themselves here and helping them see the reality of their ability to get to their goals. Or that early relationship connection, proactive academic coaching. Our team has come from a coaching skills, so we do a lot of curious coaching and asking great questions, and I think that bringing that into these early conversations has been really, really empowering for students. I was inspired by the keynote speaker this morning, and so I wanted to bring in a personal student story that a student I've been working with this summer that kind of will tie in for you guys, kind of this early to enrollment that we're talking about. So I wanted to weave this stories here. So a few months back, I had an admission appointment, this early prospective admission appointment with a student named Patrick. Patrick, every meeting, I start off getting to know my students, and Patrick was a student that left a lasting impression on me. Patrick was a disabled war veteran, an avid fisherman who ties flies. Boy, have I seen some amazing pictures of his fly tying skills and the fishes he's caught with them. Patrick was anxious and wasn't sure if his long-term dream of becoming a firefighter was a reality for him. During our initial meeting, we made a connection. Yes, we walked through all the admission steps and we connected him to the fire academy, but after an hour with him of his sharing his vulnerabilities to a caring individual, he began to speak with some hope. So in those early admission appointments, I wanted to point out in the blue is just our historic last year with one navigator. It was able to see 635 students. We have only had this process for about 3 months, and this 3 months has really been with 4 coaches because we've been training 2 new, and I've been training them, so it's taken me offline, and the 2 new coaches that are now up to speed. So looking at trajectory, if we project that out, if we continue at the same rate, we're going to be looking at quite an increased ability to meet with these prospective students, and these students to have a person to talk to before they make the commitment to come here. All right, really quickly moving to onboarding. That's that next step. That's for students that have applied and have been through all their admission checklist items but are ready to take that next step into enrollment. And so that is really just a great continuation because when a student meets with us for admissions, if I meet with them for admissions, they're going to come back to me for onboarding. So it's the same person, so that relationship can continue on, which is really great. We really do a lot of teaching in that meeting. This process is a very learning-heavy process. So we're teaching students how to navigate our processes, how to navigate my JCCC, how to talk about what their dreams and aspirations, and not only that, what are the things in their life that would impact their success here at JCCC. So we're talking about work-course load balance. We're talking about things in their life that might get in the way, and we're putting a really good plan together and a connection of a relationship of a person who can answer those questions. So continuing on with Patrick, we met a few weeks later for his onboarding appointment after he had completed his admission steps. Because he felt safe with me, he continued to share bits of his personal story, including the day he and his military crew drove over an IUD and he lost several of his friends. And that had a lasting impact both physically and mentally on him. He also told me about how after the military, when he was searching for his next purpose, he traveled the professional bull riding circuit before he received a serious head trauma by being kicked by a bull. With all these setbacks, I continued to be impressed by his drive to pursue his dreams and to help others by becoming a firefighter. Besides getting him into EMS 129, our first class, I walked him up and got him connected to the Veterans Center, where he also felt another connection. Patrick has reached back out to me and met with me several times since that original meeting. In fact, I came back from the keynote speaker today to a voicemail from him, just checking in, just telling me he was so excited about classes starting Monday and asking him about what he needs to wear the first day. Hearing his voice was a really full circle moment for me of how this new process and what the college has decided to put into place with this team is really impacting students for the better and for their long-term success. For onboarding, we only have, again, this current year, January through July pace. So in 2025, the coaches saw 1,061 students for onboarding. And we are on pace right now. From January to July, we saw 1,595 students. So we are looking for a track record year. So we're really excited about that and getting in front of these students early.
And so after meeting with students and parents and families over the past couple months, this is just some feedback that we have got on both our admissions meetings and our onboarding meetings. They're saying that they have learned so much that they didn't know before about the process. They're saying that we're always bright and positive and they love working with us. Very nice and helpful yesterday. Thanks for all of the help. They helped me so much getting my son enrolled and everything that we needed to start this semester. Your words made a huge difference for me and calmed my anxiety. We're very articulate in helping with the process. You earn much praise from me. And we didn't just get things done for the students, but they actually learned how to do it for themselves.
And just to bring us back full circle, I wanted to post up. This is Patrick, our future firefighter.
Very nice. All right, thank you, ladies, very much. Do I have any questions from the board? Let's just start. Trustee Carroll.
Thank you all so much for all that you do. I think a lot of us on the board, all of us on the board, share the importance of student success, and we want to ensure that we are capturing each individual student. And I like how you had like a person and not a transaction on there. In regards to, because you just mentioned it, that with the comments, are you meeting with prospective students and their parents at times as well? What does that look like?
Absolutely. At either one of those stages, the admission appointments and the onboarding appointments, we often have parents and other people attend those meetings with the student. It's always great for a second pair of ears and insight, into the student. So yeah, absolutely, those are welcome in all those meetings.
Okay, thank you. And then how are students assigned to coaches? Is it through the Element 451, the CRM?
Yes, so we have the coaches divided into two groups because there are 8 different, if we include exploratory, 8 different AOIs. So basically the team of coaches is divided in half and we have the AOIs divided in half, and then we're automating that process.
I'm going to carry on the legacy of Trustee Greg Musil. Can you tell us what that acronym stands for?
All right, area of interest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Trustee Holden, did I see? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Trustee Carroll, does that?
Sorry.
Oh, no, that was all I had.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Trustee Holden, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you guys said that you meet with people that are thinking about going to school here. What is your story or message to them, since you are their first person they're talking to? They may have seen marketing and all that type of stuff, but now they're talking to you. What is the story to the student / parent? It could be a different story, but what are the reasons that they should send their student, or why that student should be at Johnson County when you're talking to them?
Great question. So I think first and foremost, the fact that we have dedicated people to sit one-on-one and dedicate that time shows care. And I think that's a big piece of what these students to ease anxiety in coming, and parents ease anxiety about their student going to college. I think just that in itself shows care, and I think that's important. As far as helping them see themselves here. It's a big piece of what we do, and we do that by really diving into the students' aspirations, goals, and where they see themselves. And then we try and tie in what's available to them here, which a student can start here no matter what they want to do, right? So we just help them see that pathway and see themselves here at this college by all the amazing support and resources from day one that they're going to get.
Follow-up, okay?
Yeah.
Follow-up question. Are you provided data to support the one-on-one versus what else might happen out there? Are you provided, like, it seems to me it could be a compelling story. I get the one-on-one, but are you provided data? I'm not saying you need to go get it, but are you provided data that says this is what typically happens, or the percentages show this happens when you get this one-on-one attention that we provide?
We have a little bit of it, but it's definitely an opportunity where we grow more. But really, the biggest opportunities for success that, in my experience, where students connect is when we learn from them what their difference is. Like, what is it that you're looking for? And then customize that for them, you know? Well, I'm scared of large class sizes. Great, because there's a lot of things we could tell somebody about how great JCCC is, and making sure that we're telling them about the things that they care about. And so it's first, to Danielle's point, learning what those interests are. And so it's really customized for every student, because what's important to student A may not be what Patrick cares about or what this next student cares about. So I would say those are probably the most really impactful. But having additional data never hurts. I'm a numbers person too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, Trustee Mitchell.
I have another follow-on to Trustee Holton's. I think it's great the work that you're doing with prospective students, whether they choose to come here initially or not. I suspect some people choose to go elsewhere and then eventually wind up here at some point, maybe finish up somewhere else. But do you have any data that tells you, like, the frequency with which people that you've had these conversations with have actually decided to come here, or maybe subsequently show up here?
Not yet, but we will soon.
It'd be really interesting to know. Yeah.
All right, does that conclude your?
Yep.
Okay, and Trustee Rattan.
I just have a few comments. Regarding the 40-40-40, you all definitely have a direct impact on that, and I'm sure it's traceable. And I remember going to college and just being overwhelmed, and the fact that you exist is priceless, I think, especially for your first-generation students and students that just show up here and don't know where to go and who to go to. So thanks for sharing that very personal story. And really boiling it down to an individual. We really appreciate that. And I get the feeling that you three and your department also get some personal reward from this. As you were speaking, I could tell that it's a two-way street, that you can really feel your impact almost immediately, and then over time as they go through their classes. So thank you very much, and you are definitely a big contributor to the 40-40-40 plan. Thank you.
Well, ladies, thank you very much for being here. As my other trustees have said, obviously we're a very data-driven board. I wanted to give a little personal anecdote, which I'm sorry, Kaylee, but I'm sure you saw my face and went, oh no, involves Kaylee. So this summer I've been assisting two children that are not my own, that are first-generation graduates of our nearby high schools, try to navigate college. Both are first generation. Both have identified that they want to go to college but don't know how and don't have parents that could support them for that. So I've been their person, and I've also been learning alongside them. So just watch out. I'm lurking in the admissions this year because I'm learning and I'm kind of looking with them and giving them tips and advice. But one of the students had the opportunity to meet with Kaylee, and I just want to say I really appreciate how it was a great combination of straightforward and respectful of her time, but also custom for what she needed. You did a great job, and what you spoke about, it seems like everybody is doing in this position, is finding out enough about the student that you can help them navigate through this huge, overwhelming process. And for both of the students that I'm helping, the thing that I'm struck by when I talk to them is the fear that they have as first-generation students. And I don't think you can underestimate how big and complicated higher education is until you speak with somebody who's never done it, never thought they could, and maybe have been told they shouldn't. So I really appreciated that. I also really appreciated and I'm old, Gen X, paper person. She walked out with a folder of her next steps because there were things that she hadn't completed that we didn't know what to do. Kaylee very graciously walked us through that, helped us explain the testing that she needs to take. And she walked out and had something in hand about her next steps to be able to come on campus. Now, for my data-driven trustees, there are going to be 2 individuals that are not in the enrolled status yet, okay? So just know the data, I've skewed the data, and it's my fault. We have 2 students that didn't get there, and part of that was me not giving them enough time. They thought it was like high school. You go one day, you enroll, you're done, everything's good. You know, higher ed is really complicated. And then I just wanted to offer 2 things that I've asked them at each step of the process. How does this feel? Tell me what you've experienced. Tell me what you've learned. And there were 2 things that they brought up that I just thought I'd pass on to you all and your team. One of them is bilingual, and he's first generation, and he's interested in the trades. So, but he's unidentified in the system. So on his list of what he has to do when he has to sign up for a success coach, all success coaches appear. He said, I wish I knew something about them, like if it said, I'm bilingual, or, you know, little badges that indicate specialties or things that you all offer, so that they could find, you know, they could find their person that was an immediate connection for them, I think would be.
That badge idea.
Okay, so that's coming straight from him, and I love that too. I was like, I am going to let them know. And then the other question, and this was really a question because I haven't investigated this, but are they surveyed after meeting you all? It sounds like with those bubbles that you had up that yes.
As we get into the appointments into Element, which is our next step after fall starts,
Okay.
because I think if I did that now, they might be really angry with me. We will be able to survey them automatically, and then those surveys
awesome.
will go back to them. So I actually think that the fact that we have some of these comments without having that
Yeah.
formal survey process in place yet is even more impressive
Yeah.
for this incredible team.
And it's such a, I mean, you guys have, this has been such a short duration of getting this launched. So kudos to you all because it's a lot, and the numbers that you, of students you're already impacting is incredible. So thank you very much for that. I do.
Wanted to add really quickly
Yeah.
that those comments came from, yes, emails back from student. And
Got
to
you.
just put the point that even after onboarding, the 2 admission onboarding, and that, you know, we give them our contact information. They know we're their point person, and we are seeing that in just the 3 months that students are calling to say hi, excited to share news, checking in, asking more questions. And so we are trying our best to stay in contact with those students.
Well, I was going to say from the standpoint of the fear standpoint, one had follow-up questions, and she comes to me for them. And I was thinking if there were a survey, I think if it were prompted, she would put those in there. But she's not going to on her own. She is not that type of person who's going to reach back out on her own. But if there was something that was like, do you have follow-up questions, or just a way to kind, you know, I mean, hospitals do it now when you go to a doctor. Rate your experience. Do you have any questions? And that's like an opportunity if you're not sure, or you lose the folder because you're not Gen X and you can't figure out how to contact the person, that I just thought I would pass on because that came from the other student. Thank you all very much. And like, oh, who? Sorry.
I think Lee's on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Trustee Cross, are you on the line?
I'm here, yes.
Yes, did you have a
I just want
question?
to say, I don't think you're that old, but you do love paper.
Yeah, I do. It's true. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that commentary. I want to thank you all, and I agree with what my other trustees have said. You guys are going to have a big impact on our 40-40-40 goal, and I really appreciate that. We have such a great team as the first face of the college, and understanding how many students come to us and may give us just one chance to persist and live this dream out. I appreciate it. It's you all that they get to encounter. So thank you very much for everything you do. Have a good evening. All right. That's going to take us to the open forum of the evening. My understanding is we have nobody signed up for the open forum. You can sign up 15 minutes before every board meeting outside on our sign-up sheet, and you're allowed to come and speak to the board if you so wish, but without any registered speakers this evening, we will proceed to our next agenda item and all of our wonderful board reports for the evening, starting with the fabulous Dick Carter, a college lobbyist. Good evening, Mr. Carter. Welcome back.
I've ever been introduced as fabulous. So I will
Start
take
new
that,
trends
I will
this
take
fall.
that compliment and run with it. Well, we had a little election since the last time I was before you. All 125 House members were up for election this cycle, as well as statewide races. The Senate was not running this year. And we had 13 contested primaries in the House that folks were watching pretty closely. Of those, 4 the incumbents lost. And so that's something that people who do what I do and the whole political science nature of geeking out on elections is interesting. I'm definitely not a numbers guy. I'm going to talk a little bit about numbers tonight, so that goes against sort of my mantra because I don't do math in public. And we've got a little bit of that to look at this evening. Specifically and locally, there was an incumbent who lost in the primary in Olathe. And that was the representative who filled the slot for John Restman upon his passing at the very end of the legislative session. And so you still get the title of incumbent, even though it was a very short-lived term. And we will now see Tom Polinsky running in that seat versus Mike Storm, who lost in the primary. A couple of other interesting primaries that the incumbents lost in down in Southeast Kansas. Republican Ken Collins, who's a faithful supporter of the GOP side of the aisle, lost his race. And then in Wichita, we saw 2 Democrats lose their primary seat to challengers, and most likely they will also win in the general as well. That brings to head the fact that once again in this election cycle, Johnson County is sort of ground zero for what some see as change, and that message is coming from both sides of the political spectrum. We'll see what happens. We certainly thought there would be change 2 years ago, and things went a different direction on election night. And so again, we'll be watching that very closely. The very interesting piece that folks who do what I do are trying to analyze, and nobody's come up with a specific thesis yet, is the fact that the constitutional amendment failed with a 60% margin, yet we still have that. We didn't see that play out in other races as far as the way the outcome came. There were 78,500 more voters on the constitutional amendment, so you got to factor in the unaffiliated voters who came to vote only on that issue. Even if you back that number out, the constitutional amendment still would have failed by 60,000 votes. So when you pull all the numbers together, it was an interesting exercise, not terribly different from 2 years ago, the constitutional amendment that was in the election cycle, that particular round that failed. So I'm not sure those that continue to want to bring change to the Constitution, I'm not sure what the lesson is here, but clearly Kansas voters are speaking their piece with regard to changing the tenets of the law that govern or guide Kansas. Just some interesting stuff that is worth mentioning because it all plays into the overall election statistics. We're now starting to see the 2 gubernatorial candidates get the endorsements that so many candidates seek. One of the first ones out of the gate was Labor supporting candidate Masterson. And so, again, we watch these things to kind of get an idea of what's going on. Just today, we saw another Labor is supporting both of the Senate candidates. And so versus picking one, they're endorsing both of the candidates who are running for U.S. Senate. Again, those races all play a role in who's getting the votes in those various seats and how they either affect the up ballot or down ballot races. We know what this means in 2027 is that there will be change for sure in the House. We know that leadership is going to change. Several of the speaker is running for insurance commissioner, so he will not be in the legislature. We know that there is a strong interest, and I hope that we'll see a return to some leadership from Johnson County in the House. We think that that's going to be a good thing for this side of the state. Not that we suffered during the last 6 years, but it's not often that you see that controlled leadership for such a long time. So we know that there will be plenty of change in the in the House. There very well could be change in the Senate as well. If Senate President Masterson wins the governor's race, we'll see another change in leadership in the Senate. Chris, you might have to give the rest of this report because I'm about to start. I know you do.
He's not on our watch.
So some of the other issues that we'll continue talking about in 2027 are taxation, specifically property tax, and the policy discussions that go around that. We'll continue talking about the regulatory environment, which sometimes impacts what we teach here at the school. If you're reducing regulatory requirements, does the training need to, is the training reflected in that conversation? There's going to be a strong discussion on K-12 education funding formula. That's a scary one because everyone remembers the lawsuit that took decades. And then finally, budget, which I say frequently drives the entire discussion. We just completed the first month-end report for the new fiscal year, July, and revenues were up. And so again, that paints the picture for what does the policy discussion on taxation look like with regard to some of those issues. With regard to higher ed, we're beginning to see some movement, although we would have liked to have seen it a little bit earlier. The guidelines and guidance is coming out on Workforce Pell. We're starting to see some of those conversations take place and what programs will be eligible, what the application process looks like, as well as what some of the change in, I think we'll see this in 2027 as well, what some of the change in governance or coordination looks like in higher ed. We have a new CEO at the Board of Regents. Certainly we'll have a new governor that will help set the tone or the direction of what those conversations look like. And so there's going to be a lot of, we'll have to keep our eyes open, certainly the entire session wide open for that matter, as we anticipate the changes that are coming, even though we might not be able to predict what some of those changes look like. So it's going to be an active session. We'll know a lot more on November 3rd. So go out and vote. Make sure you vote.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Do you have any questions for Mr. Carter? All right. Seeing none, I will just say it's a long way till November. Some of us get more tortured than others, so you know it's a lot to keep up with. But I think that I have always thought, you know, I was born and raised here. We left for 10 years and came back, and I've always thought Kansans don't. There are certain things about Kansans that even if our majority politics says one thing, there are rights and principles that we stand by no matter what. And I think that amendment showed that, once again, Kansans are very adamant about some of those rights being preserved for all citizens. So it will be interesting to watch what as the voting and the debates and the different conversations come up about the various candidates, if those representing us also carry that sort of bipolar nature of the Kansas citizen. So thank you very much, Mr. Carter. I hope you feel better this evening and the rest of the week, and safe travels back to Topeka.
Thank you.
Have a good one. All right, that's going to take us to our shared governance report with Caitlin Krumsick. Good evening.
Caitlin Krumsick, Director of the Academic Achievement Center. So at the last board meeting, I mentioned that College Council was gearing up for a retreat. That happened last week, and I thought we had just a fantastic conversation. We began the meeting with an in-depth discussion around decision-making, who gets to do it and why. We then dreamed up what our ideal shared governance system would look like, which led to further conversation about the good and the challenging of our current structure and system. All of these discussions culminated in a conversation about our current definition or mission of shared governance. And just as a reminder, the definition we were working from has been in place for several semesters and can be found by faculty and staff on the Shared Governance Info Hub page. Generally, the group felt like our current definition is accurate to how we think shared governance should be working at JCCC, albeit a little bit long. So as a group, we really focused on three main concepts for the shared governance mission statement: transparency, collaboration, and being mission-driven. We discussed what our values are and the mechanisms and processes by which we might accomplish the mission. We also began talking about outlining what shared governance is not. I think we don't talk about that enough, and I think that's really important. Finally, we had a long conversation on the difference between perspective versus input, leaning more towards the idea that perspective is a clearer way of describing the kind of feedback that we value from all JCCC employees. All in all, I think we walked away, or at least I did, with a greater appreciation of one another and a clearer understanding of what we believe shared governance is. Currently, I'm working on synthesizing our conversations into a coherent document, which we will continue to discuss at next month's College Council. From there, I'd like to present the updated mission with campus to get others' perspectives, ultimately culminating in a recommendation to Cabinet to accept our updated mission. The timeline on all of this should be more clear after next month's meeting. In addition to all of this great work, Staff Council continues to meet regularly. ABC is gearing up for their first meeting of this semester in early September. But more than just these two groups, so many of our committees, task forces, and work groups are preparing to begin good and hard work this semester. As Dr. Mixa so clearly pointed out today in his address, the work of shared governance is not relegated to only College Council, ABC, and Staff Council. Shared governance happens all over campus all the time, and we all have a responsibility to engage with one another transparently, collaboratively, in an effort to advance the mission of the college. So with that, I will take any questions.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Krumsick? Yeah, Trustee Carroll.
I don't have any, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions, just comments. Since I am a part of the College Council, I just want to thank you for your leadership through that retreat. That's a lot of time to keep adults on task. And you did a great job. And I really liked the open discussion and really the honesty that I believe everyone had in the room, which is why it felt so good when we left.
Very good. Any other questions for Ms. Krumsick? Okay, seeing none, we thank you for your report. I will say I appreciated Dr. Mix's visual representation. I felt like it was a way to visually represent what shared governance is and the ownership each of us have around that. And so I hope that resonated with people and helps us move forward with, the next iteration of what shared governance looks like here. And, anything's possible. We are in charge of it, as the presenter said today. We're the ones who created it. Gary in 1998 did it. We can recreate it or make it what we need it to be. So thank you very much for your leadership in that. Appreciate it. Have a good evening. All right, we're going to move on to the Faculty Association report with Ms. Irene Olivares. Good evening.
Yes, hello, good evening. Irene Olivares, Associate Professor of History, President of the Faculty Association. And I want to begin first by recognizing Dr. Farrell Hoy-Janab and Rachel Haynes and their teams for coordinating all of the PLD sessions this week. They were phenomenal, and I also want to speak very briefly on the keynote speaker. Someone who has been here 30 plus years said that this was the best keynote speaker, so I don't know who selected Dr. McClure, but a great one. So as part of the PLD sessions coordinated by Dr. Janab and Rachel Haynes' office, on Tuesday, the faculty presented on their sabbatical projects. So I was able to listen to a few of those, not all of them, but the presenters included librarian Mark Swales, math professor Teresa McChesney, nursing professor Mindy Ritter, English professor Sayanti Ganguly Puckett, and communications professor Ashley Rader. So in this report, I want to give you an overview of Professor McChesney's sabbatical project. Back in the fall of 2023, when she applied for a sabbatical, she and Professor Whitney Turner were working on the curriculum for the Math Pathways class, Contemporary Math. As you know, Contemporary Math is a class that students can take instead of enrolling in college algebra if students won't need college algebra down the line for their career or degree plan. Contemporary Math focuses on non-algebraic approaches to critical thinking and mathematical reasoning. It helps students engage in estimations, measurements, consumer finance, probability, and descriptive statistics. In other words, it's a class that helps students apply mathematics to the study of real-world situations. One example that Professor McChesney gave for the types of activities students would be doing in contemporary math is using geometry to calculate how much carpet they might need to buy for their homes and things like that. So Professor McChesney's sabbatical focused on preparing resources for instructors who would end up teaching contemporary math because it's very different from college algebra, so it needed some professional learning or instructors to engage in some professional learning for that. So as part of her sabbatical, she created a Canvas class, our learning management system, Canvas. So she created a class where faculty could enroll, self-enroll, self-assess, self-paced class where they could review different types of activities to be able to teach contemporary math. And she made this class available for all faculty here at JCCC to enroll in, but also all faculty across the state. So she was able to use the sabbatical project for the benefit of her colleagues, but also, of course, ultimately the benefit of students here and across the state. So I thought that was a great example of what a sabbatical project can do. So in a drastic change, so I want to highlight Professor McChesney's project there. And this is not to demerit any of the other sabbatical presentations. I was just not able to attend all of them. So I'll shift now to some other news. I learned recently from Joy Ginsburg in the JCCC Foundation that very long ago, way before my time, members of the Faculty Association created a scholarship for students, and this year that scholarship will start dispersing out $3,000 in scholarships for students. And then lastly, I want to remind you that you're all invited to the FA Welcome Back Party at Tanner's next Friday from 3 to 7 here on College and Flum. So that concludes my report.
Right, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? No questions. You're going to skate off easy tonight. Trustee Rattan.
I just think contemporary math is great because you always hear this, what's the cliche? When will I use this in real life? And when someone's making that connection, it's very important. And I have a sister who started becoming a teacher in her 60s. And she is shocked at how much these young 8th graders do not get math. And so to make it approachable and connect the dots to real life is very important to continue to do that throughout life for math.
I'll pass those remarks on to Professor McChesney and everyone else in the math department.
Tell them thank you.
I was going to say along the same lines of just, I appreciate you highlighting those. We used to, that used to be part of our board committees, and we would have the sabbatical candidates come and present basically a summary of their sabbaticals. And it's one of the things I miss because what I always got from those was the incredible creativity and dedication that our faculty have for not only their own, trade or expertise or area, but also, as in the case of the faculty member you were speaking of, being able to share that with other colleagues, and not just for the benefit of this institution, but we often talk about we're blessed with resources here at Johnson County Community College, and a lot of times our partners across the state may not have it in the same way. So being able to have them access those kind of rich resources for a contemporary math class that's unique is great and incredible, and just speaks to our faculty always thinking really broadly and doing incredible things. So thank you for highlighting that for us and bringing that back. Yes?
When you do the sabbatical discussions, I was sitting here thinking it's almost like our little JCCC TED Talk series. Do you invite members of the other educational communities like a MCC or KCKCC or KU or K-State? Because it does feel TED Talkish or JCC jargonish.
That's a good question. So they're done on Zoom, and I don't know if they've ever been done. I haven't been here long enough. I don't know if they've ever been done in a public forum. I'm sure, and I know faculty take those presentations and lessons and deliver them in other spaces like the co-lab, but that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I know there was one faculty member a year or two ago that did AI, and I just think a lot of people would have been interested, even from the general community, to make that publicly available, and just to maybe take one of the sabbatical projects and do a test run to see if it would work to invite the community.
Great idea.
Otherwise, thank you very much for your report this evening. Appreciate you, and have a great start to the semester. All right, that's going to take us on to the Johnson County Educational Research Triangle report from Trustee Rattan. That's you.
So JSER received $2,317,101.35 in sales tax for July 2026. We continue to see good growth for Johnson County. Distributed $772,500 was distributed to each of the 3 university entities, and transfers were made on August 3rd, 2026.
Okay. Thank you very much. And when do you guys meet in October? Do you remember?
I have to look it up, but
I think it's October and April. It's only twice a year. So your meeting's coming up soon. All right, thank you for your report. Any questions for Trustee Rattan? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go on to Trustee Cross, who is on the line for the Kansas Association of Community Colleges report. Trustee Cross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The KACC met August 2026 here on August 2nd and 3rd at Martin County Community College in Great Bend. All 19 colleges were represented by at least one trustee or president. Members participated in a legislative panel Sunday evening and continued the conversation Monday during a legislative sentiment discussion. U.S. Senator Roger Marshall joined the meeting by Zoom to provide remarks and participate in the discussion with KACC members. Members did receive an update on the recent Kansas Board of Regents retreat. Members reviewed the proposed performance-based funding metrics for a portion of the business industry funds, and the proposed metrics included credential production, high-value programs, completion, retention, and the KBOR Student Success Index. The association approved the performance-based funding framework as presented, subject to an additional meeting. And number 6, members discussed the potential legislative priorities, including the extension of tax credits, the Kansas Promise Act, and other policy proposals. The group adopted a KACC member code of conduct, establishing a shared expectations for integrity, transparency, collaboration, and unified representation. Members also received a formal proxy process for meetings when an institution has no trustee or board member available to attend. To be valid, a proxy must be signed and dated within 30 days of the meeting and submitted before any association vote. The group also approved Flint Hills Technical College's request for KACC membership. The group approved 2 additional bylaw amendments and took no action on a 3rd proposal. The association also approved a contract for government affairs services with the same firm used during the previous year. Madam Chair, the next KACC meeting will be hosted by Colby County Community College from 5 p.m. Thursday December 3rd through 1 p.m. on Friday, December 4th. And that pretty much concludes my report. Yet I will say that I encourage all of you fellow trustees to pay attention to this group. There has been some frustrations and even growing disparities between our needs and what we expect from the association and what we need on our campus. So I don't really want to go into details here, Madam Chair, but I did want to raise that there has been some difficulties with the association, and that's been disappointing.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Cross. Do we have any questions for Trustee Cross on his report? Seeing none. Trustee Cross, thank you for your report. And I hope that you feel better. I'm sorry you're feeling under the weather this evening. Our state and regional partners are really important and valuable to us. And sometimes we also have to fly alone because we're very unique in this state. So it's a duality that we carry, and we will navigate that well. So thank you for bringing that up in your report. That is going to take us to the foundation report this evening, brought to us by Trustee Mitchell. And Trustee Mitchell, maybe more than usual, I think you're going to be the bearer of some great, exciting news this evening.
In fact, I like to refer to this as the exciting news report.
The
last 3 months, it started with the same phrase.
Change in my notes.
Exciting news, fill in the blank. Exciting news for Harvest Dinner. We have more event sponsors than ever before. Panasonic, Water One, Brooks and Carol Sherman, Hatamaki, and Evergy are all sponsoring the event this year. The event will be Friday, August 21st, with visiting chef from the Leewood Restaurant Rye. Chef Colby Geraltz won the 2013 James Beard Award for Best Chef in the Midwest and was the 2005 Food and Wine to 10 Best New Chef. The event is sold out. New this year, our floral design students are going to have a make and take activity for our guests to enjoy. We'll also have a raffle again this year and hope to raise more than ever before.
Now, Trustee Mitchell, I'm sorry to interrupt your report, but that is tomorrow night that event is happening. How many board members present are going to be there tomorrow evening? Ooh, everyone on the dais. How about Trustee Cross and Trustee Jennings? Are either of you going to be there?
I can speak for Trustee Cross. He's going to be there.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Let's move on to Some Enchanted Evening. It's going to be November 14th, and the co-chairs are Dr. Tony and Deb Mixa. It's the 40th anniversary of the event. We are at 135%, $1.89 million raised of our income goal, and more than 77 of the 86 tables have been sold out. Please reach out to Joy Ginsburg or Jamie Cochran if you or anyone you know is interested in being an event sponsor. We hosted a back-to-school community social on Wednesday, August 12th at the WCHA Barbecue Pavilion. At the event this year, we were very proud to share a student story about JCCC's Access Services. The impact of the program was so incredible, the family recently set up a new endowed scholarship to support students who benefit from Access Services. And finally, a naming update as approved by the Board of Trustees, Jones Closet and Copperman Ceramics Lab have both been officially named. Feel free to stop by either location to see the installations.
Very good.
That would conclude this report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Trustee Mitchell. I usually ask for questions at this point, but I am sorry to tell you that you are reading a report with old news, and it's not completely accurate. So I am going to let Dr. Mixa tell us really how much money we have raised for student scholarships, because you and your wife are leading up the charge this year, and you just had to show off.
Well, no, I don't know if it's because of us. I think it's because of Joy's amazing work and the team that she's doing. But I believe we're up to $2.1 million for the Some Enchanted Evening. So that's like a 2. So great work,
All right, thank you very much. Now, are there any questions for Trustee Mitchell on the foundation report? Yes, Trustee Holden.
So is the 2.1 million a record?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And so I'm assuming the 1.8 or whatever the goal was a record.
The record was, or the record.
What was the previous
I think they
numbers?
were, we don't have Joy or Kate in the crowd.
6, I
It
think.
was about 1.6
Or
million.
their goal or something was 1.6.
Yeah, their goal is like around 1.6 million.
That would have been a record.
Yes, that
What
would
was the
more-
previous best?
I don't
What
know
are we
that.
talking about here as
When-
far as growth here?
When I began 6 years ago, I remember that the goal, which was fairly ambitious, was like 800,000. Like we had always been in the 600 to 700s. Again, this was 6 years ago. And so I think it was the second Some Enchanted Evening that they got about 800,000. And from there, every year we have blown our numbers out of the water. Now, I would say that also coincides with Joy Ginsburg joining the college, and that is no accident. That is absolutely interconnected because she has been excellent at getting us more focused on how we fundraise and really pulling people in who had always sort of supported the college, but maybe not intentionally the Some Enchanted Evening, and has done incredible work to advocate for that. And so I hope Joy watches the board meeting at some point to know that those of us that have been on the board long enough know that a lot of that effect can be due to her and her leadership and her team.
Like she's doubled
my
it.
next
I feel
question.
like
You're pointing it to her.
from she showed up to now, she's doubled it.
Yeah, I mean,
Close to double.
yeah. So Trustee Holden, what were you saying?
I said we answered my next question.
Yep.
You're pointing the success.
Yes.
What we've done is we hired her.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and she's been laser focused on that. I had another comment, but I wanted to see if any other trustees had any comments or questions about the foundation report. I ran into Jay Antle at the breakfast this morning. I asked him if he was ready for the harvest dinner. You know, Jay's always got an air of sarcasm. He said, well, I guess as ready as I'll ever be. And I said, well, are you breaking numbers? Are you fundraising? He said, Joy Ginsburg's going to turn me into a fundraiser whether I want to or not. And again, that goes to Harvest Dinner was just a little side project. I joined my dad at it probably 15 years ago, and it was like 15 tables, I feel like, at the time. And now we've filled up the Capitol Fed room, and it's doubled. Jay told me doubled the impact from that event. So again, you know, leadership makes a big difference, and Joy knows how to help maybe our people that are not fundraisers really focus on making the events as impactful as possible for our students, which is incredible. So kudos to that team, and thank you for your foundation report this evening.
You bet.
Trustee Mitchell. All right, we are going to move into our committee reports and recommendations. And we're going to start off with Trustee Smith. Oh, wait, that's me. With the audit report. Liz, thank you for that laugh. I really appreciate the encouragement. The audit committee met in this room on August 6, 2026 at 8:30. Jeff Johnson, Director of Audit and Advisory Services, presented the results of the banking and investment audit. The review found that 82 of the 90 controls assessed, or 91%, were operating effectively. Mr. Johnson recognized the finance team for its cooperation through the audit and reported that the team had already addressed several of the recommendations identified during the review. The committee also received the annual report of trustee and presidential travel expenditures for fiscal year 2026. Travel expenses generally appeared reasonable and business-related, with a few exceptions noted. Mr. Johnson emphasized the importance of continued awareness and consistent application of the college's expenses, reimbursement policy by everyone who submits or approves expenses. In addition, Mr. Johnson updated the committee on audit and advisory services activities from the previous quarter and plans for the upcoming period. Currently, the department is in the planning stages of the enrollment management audit. At its next meeting, the audit committee expects to review the internal audit charter, the annual audit risk assessment, and the proposed annual audit plan. Also, the director of audit, I believe. The committee was also informed that the audit team will attend the Association of College and University Auditors Conference in September as it's part of the department's ongoing professional development. I've been told that they can keep it professional. They won't have too much fun at the auditing conference, so we'll have to get a report back on that. Mr. Johnson then provided an update on outstanding audit recommendations. 17 recommendations were open at the beginning of the reporting period. 3 have since been completed and closed, while 14 remain in process. The committee also received an update on JCCC's ethics report line. From April 23rd through July 22nd, 2026, the college received 53 reports. As of July 22nd, 41 of those reports have been reviewed, addressed, and closed, while 12 remain in process. For the full 2026 fiscal year, the college received 302 ethics report line reports. This represents a 6% increase from the prior fiscal year. Finally, the committee reviewed its proposed fiscal year 2027 working agenda and made the following recommendations. It is the recommendation of the Audit Committee that the board approve the 2027 Audit Committee working agenda, and I will make that motion. Do I have a second? Second from Trustee Mitchell. I think I can make the motion, right? I'm pretty sure. Okay. Just checking on my Robert's Rules friends over here. Motion made by myself, second by Trustee Mitchell. Any discussion on the audit working agenda? Hearing none. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Say that's 5 yeses. And any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0, we'll say. Okay, and that concludes my report. Trustee Rattan, I was going to ask if you had anything you wanted to share from the audit report or any comments, questions?
I did not have any.
Okay. Any questions on the audit report from anybody else? Hearing none, I will just say annually, the expenses that we accrue when we travel to the conferences is published, and that's what was published in the August meeting. And we had a really good, robust discussion. I believe Jeff's department is going to work with our president's office on us, trustees, doing our paperwork diligence when we travel, because we're traveling on taxpayers' money, and sometimes we just provide receipts, but not maybe all the details about why we needed the XL Uber, but it's because we all piled into one car. Those little things that, we have to cross our T's, dot our I's here at the college because we're a public entity, and so no one did anything wrong. We were all great, but we could be even better if we tightened up a couple things. So that is all from the Audit Committee, and that's going to take us to our next committee report, board governance, with Trustee Mitchell. Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
More exciting news. The
Yeah.
Board Governance Committee met at 11:45 a.m. in this room on Wednesday, August 5th, 2016. We reviewed 3 policies: the number and selection of trustees policy 111-01, the officers policy 111-02, and the committee's policy 11-03. The Board Governance Committee did not propose any changes to those policies this year. And the second item on the agenda, I led a discussion, although a very brief one and not a terribly robust one, about the process for the board's self-review. And a side note, you and I have to get together and talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
And that would conclude my report.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Trustee Mitchell on the Board Governance Committee report? Yes, Trustee Rattan.
I would just say that I think that when we do finally get to a self-audit for the board, I think it'll be a good thing. And what I find when we do audits is not necessarily the score that we get, it's the quality of the discussion.
Yeah.
When we all talk about how to make our board more high efficiency and high functioning.
Yes. I agree with you, and I would say that that has been a goal since you joined the board, and we've had great discussions on it, and now we just need to take the next step and start putting it into place. So thank you for your leadership on that, Trustee Mitchell. And I'm assuming that concludes your report.
That does conclude my report.
Okay. That is going to take us to our Employee Engagement and Development Committee report. Trustee Cross. It is Trustee Carroll. Thank you. I didn't write it on here. I think I wrote on another one, and I'm looking at the wrong one, I apologize. Trustee Carroll with the Employee Engagement Report. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Employee Engagement and Development Committee met on Wednesday, August 5th, 2026 in this room. Under HR-3, Monitor Compensation Planning, Ms. Christina McGee presented the compensation plan to the committee to approve one minor change under how salaries are computed during a promotion. This specific change can be viewed in your board packet. It is the recommendation of the Employee Engagement and Development Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to replace the current language contained in the compensation plan regarding how salaries are computed during a promotion, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Carroll, second by Trustee Holton. Any questions or discussions on this motion? All right. Hearing none, we'll proceed with the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Cross or Jennings on the line? I never know. All right, I'm going to take that as 5. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under HR-2, Monitor Employee Benefits Programs, Ms. Michelle Old, Senior Client Service Consultant and Team Lead of Holmes Murphy, presented the Employee Benefit Plans renewal information for 2027. Regarding the Blue Cross Blue Shield Health Plan renewal, Ms. Old informed the committee that the initial benefit annual renewal was 9.9% at $25,761,406. She further explained that after discussions with finance and the Human Resources Benefits team, Holmes Murphy explored ways to reduce the premium even further. After consultation with the Blue Cross Blue Shield, another option was presented, which removed GLP-1s for weight loss, bringing the rate increase down to 3.3% at $24,211,034, effective January 1st, 2027. Administration is bringing forward a recommendation to accept the 3.3% renewal rate increase proposed by Blue Cross Blue Shield. It is the recommendation of the Employee Engagement and Development Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to retain the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City, Blue KC contract for employee group medical insurance from January 1st, 2027 through December 31st, 2027, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Carroll. Do I have a second for the Blue Cross Blue Shield motion?
Second.
Trustee Rattan with the second. Any questions or discussion on this motion? Okay, if you all don't want to have one, I do. So I think it's really important to make it clear to both our employees and our public that with an institution this large, one of the biggest parts of our revenue goes to our employees and their benefits. And we take that decision every year, in some cases every 3 years, really, really seriously on the benefits we provide our employees. And we want to be sure that they're taken care of because they do the important work and live out the important work in our community every day. However, after discussion, and I understand because I wasn't in the committee meeting, but having been on HR committee in the past and speaking with Dr. Mixa, 9.9% or $25 million is just unsustainable to pay year over year. And so Holmes Murphy really went to bat to find out how we could lower our costs. And what we're doing with this option is not removing, and then correct me if I'm wrong because I don't want to mess anything up, we're not removing coverage of GLP-1s for certain cases. We're removing it as the elective weight loss option. That one option in our benefits was actually having a huge impact on the amounts that we paid, some like in the millions, if I'm remembering right.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And so we are not removing it when a doctor prescribes it, because it's necessary for your medical care. It is only being removed if it's elective and you're choosing to go on a GLP-1 on your own and you file it with your insurance. Do I have that?
Correct.
Okay.
We do have HR and Holmes Murphy
Hi.
here that could explain it to a little more detail if you'd like that.
Well, I would ask fellow trustees, do you feel like it needs more explanation? Do you think in the HR committee that was made really clear and you all have a clear understanding of why we're voting for this and what that impacts?
I think we do, but I think for the public, the more you can explain it and communicate it, and if Holmes Murphy has a visual, I remember there was a visual that was put up during the.
We may not have the visual, but we definitely have the Holmes Murphy personnel, so come on up.
And one thing I'd like, I mean, I am a little confused. I'm not great at math, but we have the 9.9% at the almost 26 million, and then we have 3.3%, 24 million. And that's not, for me, that's not adding up. Are we saying the 3.3% is a 24 million increase? Is that what we're saying? And the 9.9% is a almost 26 million increase? There's less than 2 million there.
Right, so let's break that down. So I'm Michelle Oldie, I'm with Holmes Murphy. We've been honored to be the broker for the college for 17 years now, I believe, so happy to be here to answer any questions you've got. So it might help if I do it this way. The present premium this year in 2026 is 23.4 million. When they calculated the renewal, they needed 20%. They knew they couldn't receive that because they agreed to a rate cap for 2027 of 9.9. So that would have meant, the 9.9 would have meant an annual premium of 25.7 million. Then by reducing the GLP-1 weight loss drugs, that would mean the increase would be 3.3%, and that annual premium is 24 million to 11. The cost of the weight loss drugs presently for the members that are on them is 1.4 million. So that will be removed from the future costs. And so by removing that, Blue Cross is saying we don't need 9.9 as an increase for next year. We only need 3.3.
3.3% premium interest. I mean,
that would be the increase.
Sorry,
So the rate increase will be 3.3% going into 27.
and the cost of that 3.3% increase is the 24 million.
Correct.
I'm just making sure, because I think that's what you're asking, right?
So that means the dollar increase from 2026 to 2027 is 770,000.
Say that one more time.
Okay, so the present premium in 2026 is 23.4 million. The 3.3% rate increase for next year would get that annual premium in 27 to be 24 million to 11. It's an annual dollar increase of 770,000. Had the increase been 9.9, the dollar increase would have been 2.3 million. And you're correct about how members taking the GLP-1s for type 2 diabetes and other things that are approved, those will remain in place. There's no changes happening to those. It's just to the ones for weight loss drugs. And you might be interested to know that there are other non-GLP weight loss drugs out there that have always been covered by the plan, and you do have members taking those today, and those are staying in place too. So those will still be available.
All right, thank you for that. Trustee Holden, do you have further questions? You sure? Okay. Trustee Mitchell.
Just a quick comment. I'm going to support this, but I do have some reservations about it. I think it's the right thing to do for the majority of our insured because it affects their, not only taxpayer dollars, but their premiums as well. But I have benefited greatly from GLP-1s. Unfortunately or fortunately, as the case may be, it's because I have an underlying condition that makes it beneficial. So if I were on this plan, I would probably still be covered, but they're amazing drugs, and I'm going to support it, but I just wanted to mention I have some mixed feelings about it.
Trustee
He went first.
Holden?
Okay, what you're projecting, I want to make sure I understand, what you're projecting here, though, is based on current use. If use goes up, that number goes up.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a good point, too. We've been tracking it since, and so let me just set the stage here, too. The college never intended to cover GLP-1s for weight loss, never. It only came about because years ago, the college used to renew on a June 1 plan year. So in June 1 of '22, that was the year the college added bariatric surgery to the plan. So that is now covered and still is covered. When that happened, Blue Cross said we then have to cover weight loss drugs as a step therapy measure. So that's when the non-GLP-1 weight loss drugs then were added to the plan in June of '22. That was before GLP-1s came on the scene. So at the very end of the '22 year is when Wegovy first started getting covered. And since that time, so that was shortly after the college added the bariatric surgery, since then, the costs have doubled every year and the memberships using them have doubled every year. And the pipeline for these medications is growing. There are GLP-3s coming as well, and those are even more expensive. So it's just the unfortunate piece is the cost of the medications. That's the unfortunate part.
Trustee Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did want to reference back some specifics. In the committee, we discussed this a lot, but there's a 44% increase from the previous month in terms of claims, and we discussed if additional people start getting on this, then we start running into a situation where it could affect other things. And so that's why we had the discussion, but ultimately wanted to move forward with it to prevent that. Because if there was a 44% increase the previous 12 months, what is that going to look like, here in the next 12 months?
We also check with Blue KC on their membership. They have a handful of clients. Blue KC has, large employers all over the region here, and they only have a handful of customers who are still covering them for weight loss, and a handful, and half of them have already said they're not covering them for next year. It's just a growing trend that we're seeing, fortunately.
The specifics say less than 5% of clients are continuing to cover that in their national footprint.
Yeah, Trustee Hall.
I'm making an assumption here, being new. I assume that we have other alternative things available, whether it's like some sort of a nutrition-y something type thing that is part of being
We
in
have Loom or Noom.
Absolutely, yes. Blue KC has
through you
free
guys.
programs. Yeah, Blue KC has free programs in place for, those programs have been in place for years. And in addition to that, the college has a full-time wellness coordinator who's going to be, she just came on board and she's doing a great job in promoting wellness and healthy lifestyles. And the other thing too is members can still get the drugs. Your doctor just has to write you a prescription and you just go direct to the manufacturer to get them. The unfortunate part is that the cost of them is just higher on the group plan, but we've heard, instances where members go direct to the manufacturer and they can get them for a third of the cost. You can use your HSA and FSA money to purchase them as well.
Trustee Cross, I understand you have a question?
Yeah, what are some of the market reasons for the cost of GLP-1s going up?
The manufacturers are setting that price. It's up to them to
there's
set
also
it.
high market demand, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Patent protections.
yes, which lasts for
And
years.
U.S. pricing structures are typically higher than other places in the world, right?
Yes, that is true too.
And moreover, we have now import pressures because of tariffs and, say, wars impeding foreign commerce, maybe, right?
Possible?
So while I don't like this, and I have benefited from GLP-1 drugs, I understand the administration's business decision here, and I regret that we have to do this, but the good of the many by far and away outweigh the few. And so I think there's just, Madam Chair, I think there's some deeper rooted socioeconomic reasons for this, and I'll support this, and I'm sorry to those that this affects, but I just wanted to weigh in and comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Cross. I will just say anecdotally, I have a family member who works in the regulation industry with medical costs, and it is very typical for manufacturers before their patents run out to ramp up the cost. And I think that what we are also seeing is with the big interest increasing and the demand for these, they're maximizing to benefit them and their shareholders. And that is really unfortunate for people who have, as you said, Trustee Mitchell, really benefited from what these offer. I hope when we get to the generic portion of the transition, we will be able to have better options for employees on campus. But I do want to say, as Trustee Cross mentioned, this is really a business decision because we have to weigh what's best for the majority, even when there has been a benefit for a small portion. And it has been a very small portion of our employees who have taken this elective option with the GLP-1s. It's like 100, is it even 121?
I have it.
That's not just employees, that's not just employees.
It's not just in
Yeah.
employees either.
Family members.
Right,
I have the
right.
break.
166 members.
Thank you.
100, so of those, 108 are the employees.
Are the employees, okay? And I don't want to pretend that 100 employees isn't an important group on campus. 100 employees are important, valuable people. But unfortunately, we have 1,000 employees, and we have to weigh the cost benefit in the decisions we make. And this is one of those difficult decisions you make on this board to ensure that we can still keep our bills and costs within reason. And that is why, for this measure, I will be supporting it, even though I completely agree with many of you that it's a difficult decision to do so, as so many times we've encountered on this board. But I think for the average employee who takes our benefits, I don't want that premium increase to go to them because a very small group is tilting the scales as dramatically as this is having that impact. And that's really unfortunate, but that's just where we are. So with that, I'll ask if anybody has any more comments before we move to a vote. Trustee Holton?
Yeah, one more, I'm supporting it as well. I think that the college does a very good job, administration and everybody, and I like when I listen to the student success people sit up here and talk about like everybody's an individual, and I think that having these other resources and making that known, again, I know because we don't always remember all those things. I mean, I get I own my own company, I have a packet, but I don't even know really all the time what's all in that stuff. But making that stuff known, knowing that this could have an effect on people, like we're going to do something that's going to have an effect on people, but if we can proactively get ahead of it, like we do with students, which I'm sure we do around here with employees as well, I think that's something we should make sure we challenge ourselves to do. I'm not saying we need to build a resource, but we probably have the resources, and just that communication.
Bring their attention to it.
Say, we see you, would go a long ways, I think.
Any other comments before we move to a vote? Okay. All in favor, we have a motion before us for the Employee Engagement Development Committee for the Blue Cross Blue Shield contract for employee group medical insurance. And I will take a vote. All in favor, say yes.
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 Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. All right, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Odie also shared the renewal for vision and dental plans.
Thank you. Sorry, I apologize. Thank you very much for coming up here on the spot. I really appreciate it. Please proceed, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Odie also shared the renewal for vision and dental plans. She explained that the vision plan annual premium rate will remain unchanged from the 2026 rates, which is $213,226. The dental plan will receive an annual premium increase of 5% at $980,154 with Delta Dental. Ms. Odie noted that Delta Dental guaranteed another rate cap for 2028 at 5%. The college is bringing forward a recommendation for the dental plan as there is a change in the 2027 annual premium rate. It is the recommendation of the Employee Engagement and Development Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to retain the Delta Dental of Kansas contract for employee group dental insurance from January 1st, 2027 through December 31st, 2027, and I so move.
All right, motion made by trustee Carroll, second made by trustee Cross. Any discussion on the Delta Dental option? This is one of the most important things we do on this board is renewing the benefits for our employees. So I appreciate everyone's patience and discussion. All right, we're going to move to a vote. All in favor of the motion before us, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, trustee Carroll. Please proceed.
Chair. Regarding basic life insurance and short-term disability, Ms. Odie stated this went out for bid. 17 carriers were invited to bid, 11 quoted, and 6 declined. The Standard Insurance Company was selected to continue to serve as an insurance provider based on their long history with the college and their competitive rate. The total estimated premiums to JCCC will be approximately $196,446 combined employer costs annually. Ms. Odie stated that the Standard has guaranteed their rates for 3 years. It is a recommendation of the Employee Engagement and Development Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to retain the Standard contract for employee basic life and short-term disability from January 1st, 2027 through December 31st, 2027, and I so move.
Motion made by trustee Carroll, seconded by trustee Mitchell. Any discussion on this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Trustee Carroll, please proceed.
Ms. Odie advised that all other benefit carriers' renewal rates did not increase and rates will remain the same. This concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much.
Second.
What did you say?
Second.
A little bit of a lag there.
I know, just a little bit. All right, that is going to take us to our Management and Finance Committee report brought to us by, that's right, trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Management and Finance Committee held their meeting at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, August 5th in this room. Information related to that meeting can be found on pages 32 through 37 of the board packet. The Management and Finance Committee received the following reports from staff. Stacy McDaniel, Executive Director of Performing Arts, presented a report detailing the activities of the Performing Arts program. She provided a recap of the 2025-26 season and offered a review of performances scheduled for the upcoming 26-27 season. The presentation also included a report of revenue and expenses related to their programming, including support provided by the college and the JCCC Foundation. Rachel Lears, Executive Vice President for Finance and Administrative Services, presented the renewal of an existing memorandum of understanding with the Johnson County Mental Health Center, the renewal of the college's facility rental agreement template, which is used for third-party facility rentals. Details can be found on the consent agenda portion of today's board packet. Tom Hall, Associate Vice President, Campus Services and Facility Planning, and Brett Edwards, Director, Campus Services and Energy Management, presented the annual overview of the capital infrastructure inventory and replacement plan and related systems and processes. Tom Hall, Associate VP, Campus Services and Facilities Planning, provided the committee with information on facilities projects from the Capital Acquisitions and Improvements Matrix. The matrix summarizes and monitors budget and actual expenses for campus services projects and includes payments through January 31st, 2026. Management and Finance Committee has the following recommendations to present this evening. For fiscal year 2026-27 budget publications, Megan Casey, Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, presented a recommendation to publish notice of the budget hearing and notice of the revenue neutral rate hearing for the college's 26-27 budget. The hearings will be held during the Board of Trustees meeting at 5 p.m. on
I like that.
Make sure you're paying attention.
slip there on September 17th, 2026. It is the recommendation of the Management Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to authorize the publication of the notice of budget hearing and notice revenue neutral rate hearing for the 2026-2027 budget. And I so move.
Motion made by trustee Mitchell. I believe trustee Cross would like to second this motion. I did see Megan.
Second.
Yes, trustee Cross, you got that second. Thank you. I saw Megan Casey's face shoot straight up when you mentioned 5 a.m. Yeah, we are not coming here at 5 a.m. for that. Any discussion on this motion? Yes, trustee Mitchell.
Quick comment, I already got my tax bill from the county or whatever, it shows how much all the taxing entities have charged. And there was a list on there of the meetings and where they would be held and what time. So this has actually already been made public by the county.
Didn't know that. Okay. Thank you for that. My husband and I were just discussing it, but I didn't look at it myself, so, okay. Yes, trustee Holton?
I was going to say, good job reading.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, you're
Reading
very
your
thorough.
tax bill, yeah. All right, we're going to proceed with a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Yes.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries 7-0. Please proceed.
Now we're going to move on to procurement reports and recommendations. Jim Fikert, Executive Director, Procurement Services, presented the monthly procurement and report and recommendations. We have one for paper and related materials. It is the recommendation of the Management Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the bid from Midland Paper in the estimated amount of $150,000. And I so move.
All right. Motion made by trustee Mitchell, seconded by trustee Carroll. Any discussion? Yes, trustee Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask, do we know why there are so many vendors who were non-responsive? I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Well, we asked that question, and the response that we got was that there's a breadth of paper products and related products that we're using, and not all of them could fulfill for all those products. So that limited the number of respondents.
I'm always disappointed when we don't have Dunder Mifflin as one of the options for the paper company. I just really feel like we could, really reach out and just ask them if they'd at least bid on it. Okay, thank you for that, and we're gonna move to a vote. All in favor, say yes.
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 Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Please proceed.
The next one relates to the Rayner Center and library elevator modifications.
Oh, we got it. So you
Knew
better
it.
7.
I knew as soon as I did that.
The next one relates to the Rayner Center and library elevator modifications. It is the recommendation of the Management Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the cooperative purchase from Minnesota Elevator, MEI, for a total estimated expenditure of $458,252 for fiscal year '27. And I so move.
Okay, thank you for that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Rattan with the second. Any discussion on this one? Yep, trustee Carroll?
Sure. So this is it says cooperative entity with the University of Kansas. So can you explain the process with this?
Yeah, so cooperative agreements are agreements that are negotiated by an entity for the benefit of multiple organizations, including Johnson County Community College. So it's a pre-negotiated contract on this.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam
I
Chair.
think being in a cooperative helps get the price lower, benefit of economy of scale.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, just because of the
Yeah,
cost, of course.
yeah,
It looks like this takes care, oh, sorry.
no.
This is for specifically 3 elevators only. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? I was going to ask what the modifications were because the cost is so significant, and I think that should be noted, but it does say that it's being modified, so I didn't know if a trustee wanted to address that or a staff member on what those modifications are.
It's the control panel, the control system, and the lift. Those have to be updated to maintain safety standards and code requirements.
I figured it was something like that, wiring is always expensive. Okay, thank you for that. We will proceed with a vote. All in favor of the Management Finance Committee recommendation for the Minnesota Elevator project, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Please proceed with your report.
The next one is related to the BSN Sports Athletic Apparel, Gear, and Equipment. It is the recommendation of the Management Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the first-year renewal extension for BSN Sports for an estimated amount of $300,000, and I so move.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Mitchell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Carroll with the second. Any discussion on this one? Okay, seeing none. Trustee Mitchell, do you remember what this is going for? Is this like certain teams, all athletic teams? I wasn't sure if they gave that much detail.
For all the teams.
All teams? Okay.
Thank you for the help there.
That's okay.
Shelley.
Uniform,
Keep them on the spot. Don't
I know.
answer so quickly.
uniforms, equipment, and apparel for the
Okay,
coaches.
for all. Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to know.
This is basically a renewal option on an existing contract.
Yep, right. Okay, with that, we're going to proceed to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that concludes this report.
All right, thank you very much. That is going to take us to our Student Success Committee report with Trustee Holton providing that report this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Student Success Committee met at 10:30 a.m. Wednesday, August 5th in this room. Dr. Sheila Maupin presented 2 new agreements for global engagement. Alyssa Waldman presented a new agreement with the Kansas Department of Corrections. Complete details can be found subsequently in the consent agenda of the August 20, 2026 board packet. Dr. Gurgashan Singh provided an annual report on the Academic Affairs branch. His highlights from AY26 include the number of students receiving associate degrees and certificates and credit hours taken, course delivery methods, student-to-faculty ratio, and overall classroom efficiency. Dr. Singh briefly discussed math pathways and English core requisites. He shared current initiatives, including guided pathways, HLC reaffirmation, and system-wide general education transfer. Shelley Allen, VP of Student Success and Engagement, provided an overview of student services. She started by showing the 17 areas that make up the Student Success and Engagement branch. Shelley also discussed the onboarding process and the improvement of student retention. The process is a more lucid path forward and with clear academic maps, term-by-term plan, accurate information, and a predictable path to completion. Student Services has also become proactive and not reactive by making sure students know where they're going, making a meaningful connection, and getting the right support at the right time. John Clay, Executive Director, Institutional Effectiveness and Accreditation Liaison Office, provided an update on the college's reaffirmation processes. He discussed the importance of accreditation includes receiving federal financial aid and credit transferability. John discussed the work that has been accomplished since spring 2025 and announced the site visit dates are February 28 to 29, 2028. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Trustee Holton. Any comments or questions for Trustee Holton on his report? Trustee Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going back to the affiliation agreements, new and renewal, the new agreement with the Kansas Department of Corrections, is that similar to the agreement we have with the Johnson County Sheriff's Department?
Lisa can.
Don't know what that is. Pretty cool, though, what this is. I don't know what the fire department is.
Hello, Elisa Waldman, Vice President of Workforce Development and Continuing Education. So this agreement is to provide GED classes at Lansing, at the Lansing institution. About 200 students are part of the contract for certain, and then it can increase from there to about 250, provided by the Johnson County Adult Basic Education team. So similar, if you're talking about the GED courses that we provide at the jail in Johnson County. Yes, similar, however, much larger scale.
Yes, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the clarification.
Any further questions on the student success report?
I would say two things. It was very exciting that John Clay's group is so far ahead. So that was a big fun thing to hear. They're very far ahead of most other institutions, so that was fun. And I would also say, I don't know how much it gets advertised, but the work that Shelley Allen's doing right here is pretty cool stuff. So if you haven't, it doesn't make all the news, but it's very fun, this one-to-one and all this proactive stuff that they're doing. So if you haven't read it, it's cool stuff to read and see her presentation. So
Thank you for giving her a shout out, because I don't think it's not the fun, sexy stuff that we love to talk about, but it is the critical first encounter our students have. And Shelley and her team have been incredible at being laser focused on improving our processes and technology and helping everything speak to each other so we know what's going on with our students and they know what's going on. So yeah, thank you for Trustee Halton. I just wanted to take a moment of privilege to say that, boy, I tell you what, my dad's getting a lot of flowers today from me. I'm going to have to get something in return for that. But my father's very first job on this campus was working at Lansing as a culinary instructor. Oh, yeah, that's right. Said it was the most captive audience that he had ever had, most attentive students that he had ever had, and the life-changing experience for those students gave them hope while they were incarcerated, and also really helped them feel like they walked away, they could leave prison, incarceration with a skill that they could use in the real world immediately, an asset that they would be able to be employed with. So kudos to our team for renewing that. Lisa, you know I love your department and everything you do. And today at the PLD speech, you spoke about the incarcerated individuals getting their GED, which is another example of us being in all parts of our community and ensuring that people know we're here, no matter what stage of life they're at, and they can come find us when they're able to. So thank you very much for your report, and that is going to take us to our presidential recommendations for action. You have not heard the last from Trustee Mitchell. Here he is again this evening. Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board packet includes the preliminary unaudited treasurer's report for the month ended June 30th, 2026. Excuse me. The preliminary report does not include all year-end adjustments. Some items of note to think about. Fiscal year 2026 general fund revenues slightly exceeded budget by 1%. Revenues were relatively flat compared to fiscal year 2025. This reflects the planned reduction in the college's mill levy, along with enrollment that remained steady year to year. The college's mill levy rate was reduced by 25 basis points in fiscal year 2026 from 8.111 mils to 7.861 mils. General fund expenses for fiscal year 2026 increased 7% over fiscal year 2025. While expenses were higher, total spending for the college was 7% less than budgeted. The college's unencumbered cash balance in all funds was $188 million as of June 30th, 2026. Expenditures of the preliminary operating funds are within approved budgetary limits. With that, it is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the treasurer's report for the month ended June 30th, 2026, subject to audit, and I so move.
Motion made by Trustee Mitchell. Do I have a second? Second by Trustee Rattan. Trustee Mitchell, I did want to just clarify the expenditures are the primary operating funds, not preliminary, correct?
Oh,
The answer is
I'm
yes.
sure that's right, yes.
The answer is yes, yes. Just in case anyone is out there watching every word we say, which I'm sure they all are. Okay, with that, we're going to, any discussion on the treasurer's report? Hearing none, we're going to move to a vote. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. And Trustee Mitchell, does that conclude
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my report.
final report of
Yes.
this evening? I'm so sad to say goodbye to your reports for the evening, but we're going to move to Dr. Mixa. You know, what have you been doing? You've been just
It's been a busy
laying
day.
around,
Yes,
you
yes.
know, eating bonbons. Seems like there's some things going on lately on campus.
It's been a great day today, so, but I will say, hopefully my voice will hold out. I think I'm starting to lose a little steam. That 5 a.m. meeting sounds better for me, right? 'Cause that's my time. Okay, I'll just dive right in. I want to thank the trustees that were able to make the PLD sessions today. I can tell you that all the employees are very appreciative when you come to the campus and you're there. It's wonderful to see you on campus, so they're very thankful for that. I also want to shout out to all those amazing dance moves by a few of our trustees. I truly feel that we probably have the only dancing trustees in Kansas, maybe across the country. And with that being said, I would just like to maybe throw a video out of today's
wondered
activities.
why this was playing.
So if you want to hit it, go for it.
Good morning. What we do here at JCCC, that's a new trend that I'm trying to start, is not ordinary work. Please join me in welcoming our president, Dr. Tony Mixa.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on. We can't have this. We can't have this. It's time for my remarks. This is too much. Unless I can dance too! Woo!
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I missed that.
Dave,
I didn't know there was going to be dancing here, I guess. I kind of liked it, the JCCC. So we had a great time today. I can tell you I had a lot of fun. We practiced that yesterday. We had a practice session. And I think one of the coolest parts about the practice session was as people did it once, everybody was a little timid. Then the second time, people were a little bit into it even more. And then by the third time, people haven't. I think there was a few people said, can we practice it a few more times? Because they were having a really good time. So it was wonderful. And again, I appreciate everybody being a part of that. But I really enjoyed kicking off the semester that way. Of course, we've been prepping for the fall semester enrollment. You have an enrollment report at your desk right there. Our credit side of the house, our enrollment is down a little bit right now. We are coming off of our drop for non-payment, so it takes a little while for that all to shuffle back in. So we'll see where that falls over the next couple days. But we think it will be, we should be at even or maybe up just a little bit by the time the semester begins. We do have to be honest, though. We do have some headwinds against us. The number one place where we get our students on a regular basis is starting to shrink. I think there was a couple high schools that already reported that there was a decrease in enrollments, so that will definitely be a challenge as we move forward. On the workforce development and community education side, our enrollments are kind of going along with trend. We're about 23% towards our goal of 16,500 registrations, and that also puts us ahead of last year at this time. So we feel pretty good at that in that area as well too. I'd like to just throw a few more things out there. I know I've said this a few times already, but I just want to go back to athletics. We had an amazing year last year in athletics, culminating with all of our teams hitting the national tournaments as we went along the years. I think a couple other things that were great throughout the year was that our basketball teams went into the national tournament undefeated. That's something that we thought has never been done across the country at all levels of college basketball, so I think that was really wonderful. And certainly it ended with our baseball team having a record season, winning the national title. But I talked about this morning, and I think it's really important to hit on over and over again. 71 of our athletes earned the all NJC academic honors, meaning they had a GPA of 3.6 or higher. Our graduates, also our athletes progress and graduate at a higher rate than our non-athletic athletes. And so I think it's really important to remember that it's not just about athletics and what's on the field. It's also about retention and success of our students, and that's really important, I think, as well, too. It just goes to show you how great our support staff staff is, how great our faculty are doing, working with our athletes. And then when you go see them compete, you know that, man, they're doing a lot of different things, not just working out there on the field. Which also brings me to say our competitions are starting up. So right now we have men's and women's soccer, and then volleyball is happening. We'd love to have you at any of those games if possible. If you need to know any of them, certainly Caitlin can get those to you so you know when those events are. The Workforce Development and Continuing Education Division has added some, I'll say, cool new equipment. They now have a dedicated simulator room with simulation programs in heavy equipment operator, forklift, and train simulation. I got to try the train simulation over in the NARS area. It is a lot of fun. Everybody thinks it's really easy to keep the train on the tracks. It's not as easy as you think, right? You might speed that thing up too fast or go too slow, but that's really wonderful.
I can't believe you let him get behind the reins of your brand new toy. Wow.
I mean, can I drive a real engine, for crying out loud? Let's do this. I also have had the opportunity to join Shalon, Janelle, Stephanie, and Molly from the WDCE area touring some manufacturing facilities. I got the chance to go to Clorox. I saw the kitty litter manufacturing process. I got the chance to go to AJ Manufacturing and learn all about operating room ceilings and what they put in operating room ceilings. And then I also got the opportunity to go to Cardinal Glass. Shalon, Janelle, Stephanie, and Molly, if you're with me here. I've gone to a lot of places, some here, and of course in my past career and my past jobs. This one was very intense. We were standing by a 3,000 degree kiln or oven. We were watching a quarter-mile worth of glass rolling down the production line. It was, like I said, it was pretty intense. I was sweating profusely as I was standing by this, but it was really cool to be there and see that. So it was really neat, and it really goes to show you how much outreach the college is doing to connect with business and industry to make sure that certainly our workforce area is connecting with that, but then also connecting over to our credit side of the house. Continuing on, trying to get connected across the state and learn a little bit about Kansas higher education. I met with Sherry Utash, who is the president of Wichita State University Technical College. I was told to just say WSU.
Yeah, I was going to say.
WSU Tech. I still got a lot to learn about higher ed in Kansas, but she is a longtime president of that college, and she gave me some great insight into the state system. Also, in an effort to continue to bring JCC across the state, JCCC across the state. I'm eyeing Chris over there. We are looking to bring both gubernatorial candidates to campus, give them a tour, and talk a little bit about what I think is the powerhouse of the college, and so we'll bring them here. We'll let the board know when they're going to be on campus, and we'll let them know kind of our events, and hopefully if some of you can attend that as well too, we'd love to have you there also. I attended the Practical Nurses pinning ceremony. It was great to see these students graduate and head out to strengthen our community. I also love the comments by the students' speaker who said, "We're not the same person who we started the program, and we're going to be lifelong learners." This is a great example of us fulfilling our mission and vision of inspiring, transforming, and strengthening our community. So it was a great event there as well, too. I also had the opportunity, I'm sorry I jumped around just a little bit, I enjoyed a great evening of socializing at the Foundation Social. I think it was already set out there. Dr. Scott Evelhoff and Dr. Ruth Essen were the two people that spoke about the scholarship that they created for their son because Holly Dresser and her team did such a great job of providing opportunity for him at our school here. Unfortunately, he has passed, but their endowed scholarship is great and can carry on for the rest of our students. But it was a really great event. And lastly, I hope everybody's ready to strive towards those big goals of reaching 40% graduation rate, recruiting 40,000 students, and raising $40 million all by 2030. And that's my report. Thank you very much.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Mixa? All right, Trustee Rattan.
I'll just say again, thank you for pausing operations at the college to enable everyone to come. The energy was great today, and you've established a great tradition to kick off the school year. So thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Trustee Cross or Trustee Jennings? I know Trustee Jennings was in attendance today. Any comments?
I was, and I would just say that I loved the performance today. It was a great way to kick off the morning. And I think everyone had a wonderful time, including myself.
Very good. I will echo what others have said. I think, remind me of the name of our PLD director.
Farrell, Janabi, and
Janabi, yeah. As Ms. Janabi said, what she said in written correspondence and then also there on the stage, you know, leadership trickles down, and your encouragement to let loose a little bit, have some fun, and it's okay to do something that's, you know, a little out of the box. For us, I will say the K-12 sector has been doing this a couple years. They realize, you know, a little fun in the beginning is a great way to get people started. So it was great to be part of it. I really giggled at the people that had no idea this was going on. It was a surprise for the majority of people who were like, what is going on? They didn't know if they were under attack. They didn't know if it was a celebration. They didn't know if they were supposed to dance. And so what a great way to just shake everybody up at the beginning. But also, as I spoke about on the stage, fond memories for myself coming with my dad, who always, I don't know why he invited me. I wasn't running for office, or I never thought I would even be a trustee, but there I was. Because it's such a great time for people to connect. I went around to several tables at breakfast, and people from different departments find each other and, you know, break bread together. And that's part of that community and culture that we're establishing of belonging. And the ability to let loose, think creatively really comes from the top. So your encouragement of that is really, you know, within 12 months, we're already seeing the impacts of that. So thank you, because that all goes to you and giving others permission to, you know, be a little silly sometimes. Now, with that said, I do want to just add the caveat that I saw on Instagram, you're polishing up the, you know, the golf cart. So, you know, careful with the trees.
Right. We'll watch
next
that.
week as you're cruising around taking students. But I look forward to getting our students on campus now that we've got our faculty and staff all running right at full throttle, right? For our next year of academic success. So thanks for your leadership in that. All right, well, that concludes our presidential report, which is now going to take us to our new business, which I am not aware of any new business. And right on to our old business, I am also not aware of any old business. So we are going to move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to take up the consent agenda?
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you. Motion made by trustee Mitchell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by trustee Rattan. Any discussion on the consent agenda or any items that anyone wants to discuss separately from the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed with a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Yes.
Yeah, any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. That is going to take us to executive session, which we do not have this evening, and so I will take a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, move to adjourn.
Trustee Mitchell providing us with all the motions tonight.
Second.
Thank you for that. Trustee Carroll with a motion to adjourn. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.